Hello and welcome to the Wendell Effect for the energy markets. My name is Brandon Wendell and I'll be guiding you through my view on the equity index. I'm sorry, not equity. That was the last one. This is the energy futures. Thank you very much. Before we get started, just need to remind you we are not broker dealers or investment advisors. We're going to take a look at this information from an educational standpoint only, not telling you to buy or hold any particular security or giving any personalized recommendations. Past performance is no indication of future results, and there's always risk involved in the markets. Can't eliminate it, can only try to manage it. And we're not subject to trading restrictions. We get a position in a security and initiate one at a time. Please stay in touch with me. I'd love to hear your feedback, comments, ideas. Hit me up at brandonwendell.cmt@gmail.com. You can also follow me on Twitter at TraderBdub. And of course, if you wouldn't mind, please hit like and subscribe and maybe even get the alerts as well so you know when we got new videos coming out for the Wendell Effect on YouTube. So I appreciate your support and following. So jumping into the week of April 16th for the energy futures, kicking off with the crude oil, and you can see we actually maintained that bullishness that we started with the big gap to the upside. So that gap up was no joke. We are continuing to see bullishness and maybe some inflation pressure on the commodities still. Looking at the daily chart, there's really clear sailing. We've got plenty of bullish momentum. We've got nothing overhead. This is a tested zone at about 87 to 90. So we could go through that and up to the 95 level pretty easily. I don't think it's going to go straight up, though. We do have a pretty severe incline right now with that gap up, so I wouldn't be surprised to see a little pullback first before we rally. By the way, I'm on the June contracts here because we have the expiration of the May contract coming up very soon. And you can see that we've got a bit of divergence going on in momentum. And with that divergence, again, momentum is dying off. That's suggesting a bit of a pullback. We may try not to fill the gap, but at least pull back to about $80. I didn't mark it, but there's a little bit of basing and rally right there at $80. I would expect that to be the bottom for this week if we do pull back. I don't see us filling the gap, maybe a little bit, but really this is a lot of buying pressure that kicked us off from that sideways move. So I imagine we return there and do a bit of a bounce or at least go a bit sideways by the end of the week. On to nat gas. I mean, you can't really say much about this. It's just been a very weak security. However, you notice we got indecision last week. That is a bullish candle because it's green, but also because it closed a little bit higher than the midpoint. Going into the daily chart, you notice our angle of attack here on the move to the downside is getting shallow. It's going a bit sideways. We do have a little divergence where we had lower lows in price, but the indicator showing momentum didn't have as much bearish momentum. So we may be flattening out in price at this point. Looking at the 4-hour chart, you see it even more where we made those lows but are failing to do that. We are likely to see a small bounce going this week, perhaps trying to, well, I guess we already filled this gap, but maybe try to retest this 2.4, 2.45 area. So keep an eye out for some possible buying opportunities in that gas this week. It'll be on smaller time frames. It's not going to happen on the big time frame here. We're not getting a big reversal. It's just a small pullback and maybe some sideways motion on the 4-hour and larger. On gasoline, looks like we are trying to break to the upside as well. We couldn't get a high close, close above the prior highs here. Now, we did follow through, but this is showing indecision, and we are still in neutral territory. We didn't have very good bullish momentum here. So looking at the daily chart, might be in for a little bit of a pullback this week. I don't expect us to fill the gap, but I do see us pulling back just a little bit more, maybe down into about 2.73, 2.74 area before we're able to rally again. Kind of finishing the week out flat. You can even see the lack of momentum as we're moving to new highs here on the 4-hour time frame. We're losing momentum. So I would look for some possible shorting opportunities intraday for the next couple days. But again, kind of keep an eye out for that bottoming right around 2.73, 2.74. At the bottom there, and might be getting a bounce at that point. Looking at heating oil, we've got a channel in the weekly chart to the downside, yet again bouncing off the top of the channel, but not really getting huge amounts of bearish pressure. So going to the daily, we could go a bit sideways. This, we tried to rally, we're dying off, couldn't get the momentum to continue. So in theory, we could see moves to the downside to 2.29, but I don't see the momentum there right now. We're just kind of going a bit sideways rather than pushing downwards. And I think we're just going to drift a little lower to finish around that 2.5 or 2.48 area once again by the end of the week. Going down to the 4-hour time frame, really not much there. Again, we could try to come down, fill the gap easily. There's just nothing there to hold us. There is a little bit of demand right here above 2.5. Keep an eye out for that on the 4-hour. But if the RSI is below 40 when we hit that, then we should continue to push down into the 2.48 area that I mentioned. So that's what I have for you on the energy markets. If you got any questions or any feedback, I'd love to hear from you. You can email me, brandonwendell.cmt@gmail.com. You can also hit me up on Twitter @TraderBdub, and search for us on YouTube. Please hit the like and subscribe. You can also get the alerts if you like. It helps to support us and helps me bring you back this information week after week. Really enjoy it. So until next time, trade safe, trade well. Take care, everyone. Thank you for being here.